We're Jay-Z's group. To start off with, we're going to go ahead and talk about Jay-Z's leadership style through 4 different perspectives. The first perspective is an upper level of management who has direct access with Jay-Z. The second is a middle level manager who has been working at the company for a long period of time and is a little disgruntled. Third person will go ahead and be a new employee who is fresh to the company and is a big fan of Jay-Z and has come on for that reason. The fourth and final person will go ahead and be a client who is, of course, talking from the perspective of a client. So we're going to go ahead and talk about these 4 people because it will provide 4 different perspectives. First off, the executive will be able to describe things in a more academic light and very clearly present the issues and what's going on with them. The 2 employees will go ahead and present whether or not we believe that these are effective in a manner of someone who does not agree with Jay-Z's style and someone who does agree with Jay-Z's style. The client will provide very little on the opinion front, but will be going ahead and sharing a little bit about the culture of the company and its effectiveness. These are based off of our glass mirror research and what employees of the real company said, though this is clearly not entirely factual and a misrepresentation. Talking about that, we also will go ahead and talk about this whole thing from the perspective of Jay-Z's decision to pick up boxing in his sports center of Roc Nation. We will also be talking about Jay-Z's style and types of leadership, his culture in the company, and his power. Numbers look pretty darn good.
Henry, baseball's good?
Going well.
Alright, hang on, I'll wrap this up for a second. What's going on? Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I'm in me right now, let me know. Sweet. Alright guys, so we're doing boxing now, okay? Scrap all the work. We're starting a new boxing division. Yeah, so that's what's happening. We have a new guy, he's coming in later today. Talk to us about throne boxing, so yeah, that's what's going on. Yeah, that was a great question, Paul. Any other questions that you guys have about this decision?
Has anyone run any form of numbers on this? Do we have any risk analysis?
No, and that's just not how this company operates. You know, you think about it, you guys came in for music, okay? We made the decision to go into sports, we made the decision to add tennis, we made the decision to add boxing now. It all comes from Jay-Z, it's following his passions. He's very fearless in his decisions. He's very convicted in his beliefs. He follows his passions tooth and nail. He's hands off. So, yeah, I mean, this is just what we're going to do. He's going to kind of give us autonomy over how we handle this project. But, yeah.
The last time most of us have seen boxing, we were in middle school. How are we going to pull this off?
Yeah, I know nothing about boxing.
Yes, Kevin.
This is outside of my zone of indifference.
I'm sorry about that, but look, we have a bit of a vision, okay? Jay-Z's given us a plan. He wants us to basically reinvent the brand of boxing. We got a guy coming in later. We'll do some contests in the ring. It'll be great. We'll have a good time.
So if I were to describe Jay-Z as a leader, I would say he's probably the most fearless man I've ever worked with. He takes no risks into consideration when making his decisions. He's really all about just going about what he's passionate with. He shows incredible self-confidence and self-efficacy in himself and in the decisions that he makes. He never really goes back on them. He's always going for what he's passionate about. I mean, I joined this company simply because I love Jay-Z so much. Overall, his leadership, though, it's hands-off, which I think really shows his trust in us and our ability to do work has clearly shown. So he keeps his hands off of our operations, and we get to attack the problem the way that we think is best. He's definitely an authentic leader. He shows a lot of trust in us, and he follows his set of values, what he thinks is important and what should be done, and we go ahead and make sure that that happens. He's definitely results-oriented or autocratic. As long as we produce the results necessary, we're allowed to do it any way that we want. But if we don't produce those results, that's the only time that you really get in trouble with him. I'm just really happy that he follows his passions and that we can be a part of this vision.
Jay-Z. Well, he's a good guy, and this is a good place to be, but I have some gripes. So I've been here 5-6 years now, and as someone who's kind of in a middle management position, I don't feel like I have very much input or say in what goes on here. Quite literally, we'll get, a call or a message from Jay-Z, and he'll say, I have this great idea, and we're expected to do it. I have 5 to 6 years, outside of this business experience as, a music industry professional, okay? And that the company is built on music. But now they have me doing boxing and basketball and things I'm passionate about, but I have no business experience in. It's his management style. It's very autocratic. Again, what he says goes, which is fine for some people, and some people like to have that flexibility, but others who are data-driven and like to have, some facts backing their decisions, it doesn't work for them. It doesn't work for me. It's bordering on a laissez-faire management style where it's kind of anything goes, and we're expecting to kind of pick up the mess if something bad goes on. And he's a good thing, though. He is charismatic, and that makes the business world really work. He conquers the business world, but maybe he's a little too charismatic. Some people, it just doesn't work.
All right, guys, so I know we're moving into a pretty big project here. We're taking on a new sport. We don't have much experience with it. I want to make sure that we all know what this culture is about and what we're here to do as an organization. So, we got to be really about hard work here, guys, okay? This is a company about giving 100% every day, having a passion for the job. I go to bed at like 11:30 at night. I wake up at 4 a.m. And you know what? I see people doing the same thing. People who work here on weekends, people who work here at night. That's the kind of environment we need. And if that's not the culture for you, learn from people. Learn from people like Jack over here. He does a great job. So I also want people to know that we're not here to get accolades. People might not know our names. People might not know what we've done. This is a place like doing good work and like staying committed to the vision that Jay-Z has given us. So we're going to be committed to that. We're going to do that. And you know what? I've heard a lot of complaints recently. I don't like it, especially out of you, Henry.
Yeah, Henry.
No organizational politics out of you guys, okay? I'm going to clarify this right now. We're going to have some clear goals, okay? Our goal is to get boxers to come to Rock Nation, be managed by us, and to rebrand the sport of boxing, okay? I want you guys to have all the resources you need. You know what? Here's my wallet. Get whatever you need, guys. We want resources to be available for you with all your projects, okay? There's a very clear leadership structure here, okay? Henry, you're going to be in charge of the boxing division, so report to him. Come to me. Don't you dare call Jay-Z, okay? We need to have a very clear line of command. I want people to know, like, with all certainty that you guys can do this and that you guys can really make boxing a sport that people want to watch again through our efforts with management.
So talking about the culture of Rock Nation, I think the biggest thing that's a plus for me is the culture here is everyone gives 110%, and I love that. We all work until late hours in the night. Everyone is committed to this and being part of the vision that he's got. Although I may not always have a say in what the vision is, we all still work towards it. Another part of it is when I first started, there were a few things that I really liked that were kind of icons of the company. First off, our CEO has a large collection of gold objects in his office. In fact, you can be sitting from the other side of the office and very clearly see the reflection off of his. He's also got this gold couch, which he is very proud of and often talks about how much money he spent on it. But the couch, it's just kind of a symbol of the wealth and success that this company has enjoyed, and as well as all the gold objects in his room and the J's on it. It's honestly just an incredible piece of this company to look at and kind of rally around.
Probably the most obnoxious thing about working here is the god-awful gold office I have to look at every single day I come into this place. This wall is actually white, okay? But it looks yellow because there is light shining off of the gold stuff in the office that we sit across from. Okay? It's ridiculous. It's insane. But in all seriousness, though, there's not a lot of recognition you get here. We kind of feel like pawns or peons, I guess the term is, when we're working here. We feel like I feel like a cog in a greater machine, which is good. But as someone who's had a lot of experience and who has met Jay-Z a couple of times, we have absolutely I have absolutely no influence on what goes on here. We just kind of get thrown around. And the work hours are great. I love to work hard. I work hard every single day at this job. But the hours are just obscene. I'm here sometimes from 8 a.m. to midnight sometimes. It really depends. And I'm a family man. I have a wife and kids. The work-life balance here is just out of control. There's no work-life balance, I should say. That's part of a good job has a balance between those two, and that just doesn't exist here.
So a lot of people ask me, like, what is Jay-Z's role in this company? Like, it seems like I have all the power because I'm doing most of the management operations, but Jay-Z does exercise his power in a couple different ways. I said the first one is through, like, referent power. So what we're talking about here is an elusive power that's mostly based on, like, interpersonal attraction. So Jay-Z's got a lot of charisma. He's obviously a very successful person. A lot of people admire him. They identify with him. Our new employee is obsessed with Jay-Z. He literally bumps the Black Album every single day. And also, we just signed a guy in tennis, I believe. His name is Francis Tiafoe, 17 years old, awesome talent. And his favorite thing about signing with us was meeting Jay-Z. So it's really about the charisma, getting people to having the influence over people because they admire you and they respect you. Expert power is kind of the other type of power Jay-Z has. And this comes from just like knowledge or skill or experience. So obviously Jay-Z has worked in the industry of music forever. He's managed people. He's had his own record label since the 90s. So he's got a lot of skill and expertise. And the target that is, being that the power is being exercised over usually sees expertise as accurate and says, the influence that I have from him is just that he knows his stuff and that he's experienced. So the knowledge is also really relevant, especially with sports, because Jay-Z is a part owner of the Nets. And I think when we were really looking at adding sports, one of the big selling points we have for the athletes is that, Jay-Z is also famous. Like, he is someone who knows what it's like to come from maybe like an impoverished background, suddenly have a lot of success, have all these fans chasing after him. He can really identify with the people and like really be someone they can connect with. So those are kind of the way that Jay-Z really exercises his power in the company.
So if I was to talk about Jay-Z's power usage, I would mostly go ahead and talk about the fact that we all really identify with Jay-Z. We think that he's a charismatic person. We all look up to him quite a bit, and that draws us to try to be like him. I think that his use of that kind of referent power really goes well because he's just such a successful artist. He also exerts that power through influence. Influence mostly being from our boss Michael, who we deal with most of the time, in the form of upward appeals. Like in our meeting earlier today, we were all a little concerned about our switch to boxing, but Michael went ahead and told us that it was directly coming from Jay-Z, and there wasn't exactly much that we could do about it. So we all went ahead and rallied on that, and I think it influenced our thoughts as a group quite well. Jay-Z himself, however, does attempt to use inspirational appeals on a pretty much daily basis. I mean, we have celebrities coming in and out of this office all the time, and being around so much success really is inspirational to some of the employees, as well as once in a blue moon, Jay-Z will come in and go ahead and talk to the company as a whole, and it's amazing to be able to see such a huge star come in and try to help us all out.
Boom.
That's perfect. That should do. Is there anything else we need to go over? Yeah, go.
Is that as a group? I forgot. Is it a group or is there individual
It's
shots?
individual.
So, despite what you've heard me say so far, I actually really do like working for Rock Nation. The expert power that Jay-Z is able to bring and exert to our office is unparalleled. The experience this man has in life, but especially in the music industry, is uncanny. He's married to Beyonce, okay? He is his own independent recording artist when he needs to be. This man is a musical guru, okay? And I trust him, and I'm 99% sure the entire office trusts the guy. I mean, he's made it in the business. What else is there to say?
Yeah, so we just launched boxing. We already have our first client. His name is Connor. We're really excited about him. He kind of fits the mold what we look for in a client. Usually it's someone who's kind of on the verge of success, and we just kind of elevate their profile a bit. But really that client nature is why I think that we've been successful. We have an amazing staff. And we're not just hands-off with them. We're also hands-off with the clients. So we have the clients, right? It's usually a one-on-one interaction with the staff member, a very small group of people handling each client. And we don't control what they do. The off seasons are really up to them. Like, they can train how they want to train. They can take the time off they need, but we are there to provide resources to help them with their promotions, help them get endorsement deals. And I mean, we've been successful with it. You know, Kevin Durant is one of our clients. He's on the Golden State Warriors, just won a championship. You know, we got Robinson Cano a $250 million deal with the Mariners. So I think like that kind of success, having Jay-Z and having him be relatable, and also having that very personal, tight-knit, you know, client to staff atmosphere is why you've been successful.
Great.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me. I really like the tight-knit connection at Rock Nation between the faculty, management, and other clients. And I feel like this has helped to develop me personally and professionally and presented me with a lot of opportunities, and I have the freedom to choose these opportunities with the help of guidance from the faculty and management if I need it. I also like the swag element that Jay-Z brings to the company. That was another big draw for me, as well as I've seen a lot of people wearing gold and have gold all over, which is something interesting too. Well, I fell in love with Rock Nation and its mission long before walking into their front doors. After hearing that the company was started by Jay-Z, I knew that it was an opportunity that I could not pass up on. And what better way, I thought, to represent myself and be promoted than by working for the brainchild of one of the biggest and most successful music moguls in the industry. And he has a history of making successful people even more successful and kind of raising their potential ceiling. And that was something that really drew me, as well as he takes smaller kind of underdog athletes and promotes them into big stars. And the opportunity to work with a company put together by someone like this and someone with such a successful track record as Jay-Z was, again, an opportunity that I couldn't pass up.
Yeah, so in doing this project, I learned a lot about leadership, I think. One of the biggest things I learned about Jay-Z as a leader was just, I think that stood out to me the most was like his fearlessness. I mean, he is really a musician, and I think that it was kind of interesting to know that he went into sports. Like, he had passions for sports, but like the fact to like actually like blend his music into sports, like buying a partnership with the Nets, being a huge part about making like the Barclays Center the home of the Nets and the Islanders now. That was pretty interesting. Adding sports to his management company, I just thought it was really cool, like the way that he followed his passions, and I mean, it seems to work out. He's got really high-profile clients, so that was pretty cool. I would do some things differently, though. I think one of the big things that we read about in Glassdoor was that there was not a lot of interaction between employees and supervisors. Not a ton of like direct feedback. It was a lot of just like get after it, work hard, kind of make the products your own. I think one example of that is the decision to go into boxing. When they interviewed Michael Yormark, we used an interview from Complex, and they basically asked him, like, why'd you move into boxing? He said it wasn't about the financials. It was because Jay-Z loves boxing. So that might be a bit more rash of a decision than I would make, but he doesn't have much risk aversion, so I think it was good for him. So when I'm thinking about what type of leader I want to be, I would say I think that he uses his expert power well. I'd like to be someone who knows a lot about the topic or about the industry I'm working in, because that really does help draw clients and also draw like staff. And I also think I learned to not kind of do some of his autocratic leadership styles, to be more involved as a leader, not just have Michael Yormark, the manager, doing most of the day-to-day stuff. But overall, I think he's an ethical leader. I don't see many problems with his like ethics as a business person. His practices are pretty good. He does have a community service aspect to things. He does benefit concerts and things like that. I think he treats his employees well. Like, they get a lot of vacation time. They get free concerts and stuff like that. So yeah, overall, I think he's a good leader. I think it works for him, but I would just do things a bit differently.
So when doing this project, I learned quite a few things. Mostly, I started to learn about Jay-Z's style of leadership, which is super hands-off compared to most large business leaders. It was really interesting to see it from his perspective. All he cares about is results, but he delegates power extremely well to the people that he does. and I think overall makes a better corporation for it. I think doing research for this, there were a lot of fluff articles that took a lot of time to go ahead and dig into. So doing this again, I would have a bit better idea of the type of information that I'm actually looking for. Also thinking about it, I don't particularly like Jay-Z's style of leadership. Although I respect that it's been successful for him, I don't think I could deal with the anxiety of having my money in someone else's hands almost entirely, and it's theirs to mess around with. I think overall this was definitely a very good project for me because it at least kind of initiated me to that style of leadership that many people may do, but it's not something that I'm interested in doing in my future.
I actually learned quite a lot in this project. One of the biggest things, actually, contrary to my character in The Office, I actually really like his leadership style. Personally, I'm a very individualistic person, and I think that when everyone has the freedom to kind of express themselves or bring their skill set to the table, you can actually have a more diverse and it's a better company in general, I think. Now, that's obviously, like my character said, it's not always the case for everybody. Some people need to have more structure. Personally, I like to just be given a task or a goal, and they'll just let me go. So if I was going to run a company, that's kind of how I would do it too. Maybe a little more clear goals, and maybe have a little bit more control over what's going on. But overall, the Rock Nation structure, for me personally, actually is pretty beneficial. In regards to things I would have done differently, to be completely honest, start maybe a couple days earlier so we could confirm everything, get all our timings worked out. One of the biggest issues for us was, we're all very busy students, was timing. Fortunately, we were able to get everything we needed, but it would have been better if we had maybe an extra day or two of wiggle room in case people couldn't meet up and everything. So it was a little stressful. In terms of his if his business decisions are ethical, I think so. I see nothing wrong with what he does. He's an entertainer, musician, and businessman. I think actually what he's doing is creating jobs. As far as I know, he's a good guy, and he takes good care of his employees. He has a pretty good payment, but I think wages and everything, and vacation time and perks. The only thing I think that might really rub people the wrong way is that whole you do whatever you want and just get the goal done. But that's about it.
So in our project about Jay-Z, I learned that he is a very hands-off leader, and he likes to delegate a lot of his day-to-day tasks to different managers that he leaves in charge of his company. But he's also a fearless leader and has branched out into many different types of businesses. It's just that once he starts those businesses, he leaves it to someone else to kind of manage the day-to-day while creating his overall brand himself. He is definitely a very results-driven leader, and he only cares a medium amount about people in his company, so that would make him kind of a middle-of-the-road manager. I personally think that I would be different than that. I would, as a leader, would care more about people and results together, and would want to have more of an impact on my different companies and work. So I would definitely be more involved in the day-to-day activities and wouldn't be hands-off and wouldn't delegate as much, because I would want to kind of be in control of what I built and have a say in kind of how the company runs every day and overall. And so I would be different than Jay-Z in that aspect. And that is pretty much what I would do differently than him. I do think that he engages in ethical and socially responsible behavior. He has never had a scandal or anything involving his businesses, and he is giving back to the community, and he talks about in interviews on how when people make it out of the projects like he did, they should talk about how to do that instead of talking about how they go back all the time and revisit the projects, when really they should be enjoying life outside of it, because that's what everyone wants. And so that's kind of an ethically responsible and socially responsible thing that he does, is kind of give back to the community through his success. And that's pretty much all I learned about Jay-Z through this project.